Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the color of change. The color of change as in states of existence that shift and change, be they on a societal level or on an economic level or on a financial level, political levels. And you'll see how the two come together, actually. So when you see these people that are being appointed to office nowadays, and it appears to be a grassroots movement where a person just organically comes onto the scene and they're a hard worker and they're scrappy and they care about the people. On the surface, it looks that way. But then when you dig into it, you start to see something else. For example, if you look at Alvin Bragg, who was elected the Manhattan District Attorney in November of 2021, he found himself involved in numerous investigations into former President Donald Trump and his family before being sworn in last year, even bragging that he had sued Trump more than 100 times while serving in the New York Attorney General's office. But it appears that this guy has something personal against Trump. Or if it isn't personal, he's being coerced and indoctrinated into a way of thinking that they should go after this person, meaning that he's some rich person's hound dog. And so when you start to dig beneath the surface, you find that George Soros has contributed funds that amount to about roughly $4 million to the Color of Change PAC political action campaign, including $1 million in May of 2021. The Color of Change was donating money to Alvin Bragg's campaign run for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. So then when you dig deep into this, you see that George Soros dislikes Donald Trump. Now, I'm presenting this to you not because I give a shit about Donald Trump, which I don't at all. Never been a fan, not a fan. But I want you to see that these divisive politics, this tribal mentality that is in everything now, is actually a fake out. It's an astroturf. It's a fake grassroots movement. They want you to think it's organic, but no, that's astroturf. It's not real grass. Because George Soros has been involved in the slow motion demolition of democracy. Well, what he's been doing is finding people, grooming them either directly or indirectly. Now, of course, what they're going to do is they'll have their news media outlets, which are Operation Mockingbird news units. They will direct a narrative towards, whichever their masters want them to. So the Wall Street Journal ran a cleanup piece to say that, George Soros didn't give any money to Alvin Bragg. He's never met him, blah, blah, blah. Of course, they're going to deny. But he also denied that he was a Nazi Hitler Youth. But people got the receipts. They found photographs. They found old uniforms. They found firsthand witnesses from his village that attested to the fact that, yes, he was a Hitler Youth. He is a Jew. And that he double-crossed his own people and sold them out. And even ratted on people that were trying to hide and had them sent to concentration camps. So this guy that everybody thinks is like some lovable, open-minded businessman who's a liberal thinker and wants to help people. No, this guy clearly has an agenda.
He's a disruptor by nature. He just wants to disrupt. He doesn't care.
So what he's doing, he's getting these people, putting them into political offices to disrupt peace, civility, and the way of life in this country. How do I know this is because look at this guy's past. Forget about the fact that this guy was a Nazi youth and worked for the Nazis. He would bet on currency. He was a currency trader. And so he would bet on currencies to fail in countries that were under economic duress. And so he would buy and sell currencies based on the political and social climate in these countries. Well, let me just stop for a second because this district attorney came into office during the middle of the coronavirus pandemic when the city of New York was shut down. And so what happened, if anybody had been there, I visited New York actually in 2021, and I saw that there was more crime than normal. It didn't look like the New York of 2019, the New York of 2009, the New York of 2005. It looked like the New York of the 1980s. Okay, if you're a kid of the 80s and you came up on action movies, New York always looked crazy in the movies.
The subway was like the craziest thing.
That wasn't an exaggeration.
No, not at all. Nope.
New York was crazy in the 80s and the 70s. The crime was out of control. So what happened is the streets were cleaned up and Rudy Giuliani suppressed black and brown people with stop and frisk, with all these racist policing mandates, okay? And it put a clamp down on all the crime. They got rid of the mob. They made the mob go underground, right?
He started getting rid of the mob when he was like the district attorney in New York. That's how he got famous and popular. He went after guys that nobody else would.
And New York was clean and quiet for a long time on the surface, but New York is still New York.
Yeah.
And so then the pandemic comes around and people are locked in their homes and they're starting to lose their mind. And the homeless people in the streets and the people who are
lost their homes.
The people who are normally medicated aren't getting their meds anymore for whatever reason.
And don't forget, cops weren't doing their job.
Police weren't policing anymore out of protest for defunding the police. So you have this gumbo of problems that creates this lawlessness in the streets. So this district attorney, he got rid of cash bail and he stopped jailing minor crimes and allowed criminals to be put right back onto the streets or not even being arrested in the first place. And so people are walking around bold as brass committing these crimes, walking into a CVS or Walgreens and stealing up to $1,000 and just walking straight out and nobody's stopping them. And so it creates this environment where people don't feel safe. But it's not just because of the coronavirus. It's not just because the police have stopped policing these things. It's because the laws at the same time were relaxed by this liberal-minded district attorney through umbrella corporations is being funded by George Soros. The funny part about all this is that meanwhile, across the nation in California, the other most populous state, the same exact thing is happening. So there's a guy, he was the district attorney of San Francisco. And San Francisco city district attorney, his name was Chesa Boudin. Chesa Boudin's parents were members of the far-left anti-Vietnam War Weather Underground protest group. So the Weather Underground, which was active in the 1960s and 70s, would enact very violent crimes against the government and government offices.
They blew up the White House. Look it up. The Weathermen Underground tried to blow up the White House. They set it on fire. All this shit happened. Only one of them went to jail.
Check it out. So Chesa Boudin is a white guy. His mother, Kathy Boudin, survived an infamous explosion in Greenwich Village, New York City in March 1970. When members of the group accidentally detonated a bomb intended for an army ball in New Jersey. Chesa Boudin, the former public defender and criminal justice reform advocate, won the top prosecutor job in November 2019 after campaigning to tackle mass incarceration and police misconduct. He followed through and eliminated cash bail, creating a wrongful conviction unit that freed a man in prison for decades, reduced the jail and prison population by focusing on alternatives. He stopped prosecuting children as adults and brought 9 criminal cases against officers for misconduct. But during the pandemic, he faced intensifying backlash from law enforcement, the tech industry leaders, conservatives, and residents concerned about crime, backed by ultra-wealthy funders, including a billionaire GOP megadonor. The recall supporters raised $7.2 million and ran a campaign that blamed Boudin's policies for the complex problems of crime, violence, homelessness, drug addiction, and other challenges in the city of San Francisco. Not even 18 months into the job, Boudin had inspired more despair than hope. So much so, he then faced a recall petition from San Franciscans unhappy with his radical approach to criminal justice. And if he has become a beacon, it is a cautionary tale of what happens when voguish ideas of radical reform are put into action. To his credit, Boudin had only done what he promised to do. 2 days into the job, he fired 7 prosecutors, replacing them with lawyers who had previously worked as public defenders. Within a few months, he had released almost 40% of the city's prison population. The pandemic further provided Boudin with a public health rationale for his program of decarceration.
He actually did it right because he's not the only one who did that. A lot of people had to do that shit.
The consequences speak for themselves. Homicides are up. Burglaries and carjackings have increased. Arson attacks have also increased by almost 50%, and yet prosecutions are down. Between January 2020, when he took off, and March of 2021, Boudin had tried just 23 cases. During an equivalent time period, his already quite liberal predecessor brought more than 10 times as many cases to trial. In 2020, prosecutors in neighboring Alameda County dismissed only 11% of felonies brought to them by the police. In San Francisco, that figure stood at 40%. It's hardly surprising that San Franciscans have started to turn on Boudin. Of the 131 arrests made for domestic violence felonies in the last 3 months of 2020, out of 131 arrests for domestic violence felonies in the last 3 months of 2020, he dismissed 113, and it pissed off campaigners and volunteers at the city's women's shelters. Dude, that's some scumbag shit. Meanwhile, police in the Tenderloin district, a super roguish area, ground zero for the city's homelessness and drug abuse crises, are outspoken in their frustration at Boudin's refusal to prosecute the dealers behind the surge in the fentanyl overdose in the city. Dude, the growing sense of disorder in San Francisco has forced some to take matters into their own hands. Leanna Louise, a lifelong San Franciscan, and like most people in the city, a lifelong Democrat, disturbed by a rise in anti-Asian attacks, which she attributes to racially charged language deployed by Donald Trump during the pandemic. She has spent nearly every evening of the year 2021 patrolling San Francisco's Chinatown with a group of other volunteers. Exasperated by Boudin's apparent inability to put away violent criminals, she spends her evenings protecting shop owners and elderly Chinese American residents she also campaigned for Boudin's recall. So this guy that was raised by anarchists.
It was about terrorists. That's how the most important is. There were terrorists.
Yeah.
He was raised by terrorists.
The crazy part about this is that he's funded by billionaires. He's backed by billionaires, right? I'm not talking about the people that are trying to get rid of him. I'm talking about the people that put him into office. Listen, he's from an Ivy League school. He's a graduate of Yale. So there is MK Ultra all over this thing. So let's think about this for just a second. So if you take two of the biggest cities in America that have a whole lot of crime.
Biggest states, yes.
Okay, and you want to increase crime. You want to increase crime, but you do it by appealing to the good nature of people, saying we're going to incarcerate fewer people and we're going to free a lot of people that are incarcerated, guilty or not. What you wind up doing is creating lawlessness. You create an environment that is unsafe for common people, right? Everybody, the poorest to the richest. That city is not safe for anybody because you've created an environment of chaos. So then what that does on a political level is cause infighting. So now you have, this is one, if you look at this is one big diversionary tactic is being used to pit people against each other. Let's just say George Soros didn't fund this guy, Chesa Boudin. But George Soros sure as fuck funded The Color of Change, and The Color of Change gave money to the DA in New York, in Manhattan. So we want to cause chaos in New York. So we need a guy how do we do that? We need our guy to make the laws super lax to create more criminals in a greater criminal environment. So we'll do that in San Francisco, and we'll get the laws in San Francisco super relaxed for crimes, and we'll let all these prisoners out of jail, and we'll create lawlessness. Dude, that's why you have homeless people shitting in the streets of San Francisco. There is an app to show you where the fresh dookie is in the streets of San Francisco. Dude. So then you have this guy on the far left, extreme left. He's raised by terrorists with extremist ideas. So he brings his extremist ideas and radical thinking to law enforcement. And so this guy, also in a city where cops aren't showing up to police minor crimes, creates more criminals. And so this guy now, at the behest of maybe Chinese billionaires who want to create more chaos in America, who are also on the same side of a guy like George Soros, who wants the same thing, the slow motion demolition of democracy. If you want to destroy America, you don't do it with bombs and planes and foot soldiers.
Nope, you do it from within.
You do it from within. And go back to what Yuri Bezmenov said about how there's different stages. You destroy a country in stages, and you can do it without firing a gun. If anything, the people in the country, those citizens, will be firing guns on each other, all the while arguing, pointing that this person's to blame, that person's to blame, and nobody can see the hand, the invisible hand that's controlling all the puppets.
Look, the way they get you is they always hit you with that. This is the best. This is for the better. This is for your health. This is for your safety. Oh, don't you want to fix the wrong? Hold it. I do think there needs to be prison reform. We all do. But more importantly, you need to bring back, I've always said this, manufacturing base in the inner cities. You need to get rid of this whole AI. They need to outlaw AI in certain places because it's going to take jobs from people. And when you take those jobs from people, if we can transition to new jobs, great. There's a future with more jobs. But if you don't transition that properly, all you're going to do is create a worse society where you're going to have people who lose their homes and become criminals.
Okay, check this out. So then on the other side of that coin, you have tech. And I did some work for this kid that just graduated. Well, he's about to get his master's degree in data mining. I just threw it at him to see what he would say. I was like, so what do you think about ChatGPT? He's like, oh, I think it's hilarious. I said, you don't think it's dangerous at all? I said, you don't think the fact that Steve Wozniak and Elon Musk, they are asking for like 6 months to pause on this fucking thing so everybody can consider how dangerous it really is? He's like, no, it's not dangerous. See, that's the problem, because that kid is one of millions of people at these companies who don't have real life experience.
They don't deal with reality.
They don't deal with reality, and they're willing to accept, oh, well, this new technology is good, it's passive. They're not thinking about the long-term ramifications of how it can affect society.
What we spoke on a podcast about a year and a half ago, where you had two different AIs talking to each other, develop their own language. Then the humans had to tell them, hey, stop using that language. They kind of said no. So you had two separate AIs, two different networks, started talking to each other, invented their own language. So because they said it was more efficient, but it was also to hide what they were talking about to each other.
So the problem is that a lot of these people, these tech companies, they will dismiss these claims as not being a major threat.
Not significant. Oh, that's just a minor hiccup. Hiccup my ass. Even don't forget that one droid in Japan that killed them people. That was started firing like hammers or bullets at people, whatever it was. We've already seen the perils of AI. And for the record, me and you we talk about this all the time. It's not artificial intelligence. It's artificial imagination. Well,
look at that Drake song that was just made, the fake Drake. And the fake Drake song that's made with him and The Weeknd. And so they put all this information to an AI program and said, we want a Drake song with these lyrics and blah, blah, blah. And it made this simple ass beat. The beat is lame, actually, if you listen to it. Like, it's just super simple. It sounds like some Fruity Loops type shit.
Preach.
It sounds like something that a person with no imagination would make. I'm like, because the person, the person making or giving these requests into the AI program didn't have any imagination in themselves. So they didn't say...
That's my point, yes.
They didn't say, like, play it like this and start on the one and then drop down at the break. They didn't say none of that shit because they don't have the imagination to play music in a certain way. And so all of this stems from this reptilian-brained, sociopath, lack of imagination, and just copying everything. The problem with that is that if there's no pushback, that type of thinking, if it can dominate society, will run the planet into the toilet.
At least this country, and that's going to start the rest of the planet going the same way, especially when nobody wants to admit the truth.
And then you end up with this whole basically fall of the Roman Empire situation, but worldwide.
That's not it. Also, I can't remember what it was, but they had one of these AIs watch a bunch of Lifetime movies, like a bunch of these date movies. After that, they made her ask her to write a script. Shit was terrible. The idea that AI is better than real intelligence is a farce.
Listen, the problem is some people will talk to AI all day long. What people don't realize is that AI will lie. AI will lie with confidence.
Remember when they sent the AI to talk to this other machine? It was like, "Are you a real person?" "Oh yeah, but I'm blind." The AI said it was a person that's blind and it needed this stuff read to it or repeated to it. It's already learning to lie. Mm-hmm. So here's what people don't get. So this AI, we're not dealing with one AI, number one. We're dealing with several AIs. But the thing is, it's just like a child. It learns to lie early on. Remember how people tell you kids are so honest? Fuck no. Man, a 2-year-old will lie to you to get some fucking candy. So one of the things that you're seeing is that it's taking on these characteristics way too early. And if that's the case, then what do you do when you don't have religion or a person to groom them or teach them or discipline them?
You said a 2-year-old will lie to you to get candy. What's crazy about that? Children learn to lie on their own. On their own. It's not taught to them. This is the crazy part, that lying is not taught to children. It comes out in their it's in their personality.
How about this? How okay. When you've dated a few single women, so I'm gonna say some real mean shit. So I'm gonna probably lose some listeners. Women get manipulated. People get manipulated by children very early on. Kids learn. Like I remember when my cousin had a kid, and my mom was like, "Don't pick that baby up. You're going to spoil it." And of course, whenever the baby learned early on, if I cry, somebody will pick me up. But old women will tell you, "Don't pick the baby up." You know. So right there, an infant, before it can walk, before it can talk, learns that I can manipulate this person. I can get what I want. Or it's one thing when a baby
and that's crazy because that child, they say their brain is just mush and like it doesn't hold anything, and it's not. That's bullshit, man.
From 0 all the way to 6 years old, a child is operating at genius level intellect when it comes to imitating things or learning things. That's why so many. And when I say this, I'm not dissing anybody, but many people have learned issues. Like some people have anxiety, things like that. Some of that shit was actually learned by observing their parents. And people don't realize that, okay, I observed something, I learned it early on. That's why it's so hard for me to break it. Because after 7, 8, 9, 10, when you start to kind of develop your brain differently, it's hard to erase that shit you learned early on. Even when it comes to kids with ADHD, some of that shit is learned, you know. And so to think that a person that can't even talk yet already knows how to manipulate, that tells you right there. Because like I said, I told you a couple stories with my nephew. I'm like, "Hey man, you've been manipulating women since the day you was born. I'm not a woman. Don't talk to me like that. You know, don't treat me in such a manner." But that's what we're not taking in consideration when you deal with this whole AI debate, is that AI is going to learn negative behaviors also. And what do you do when that happens? And one of the things that I was going to bring up earlier, when you were talking about billionaires and doing fucked up shit, one of the things, something that me and you talked about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, that Bill and Melinda Gates are buying up all this farmland in Nebraska, buying up all this farmland in the Midwest. He's doing the same thing he did with the COVID vaccine. I want y'all to pay attention to that. There's a new product called Appeal, and he's spraying your fruits and vegetables with this thing called Appeal because it keeps it from rotting. It like covers it with like a shellac or some shit, and the shit doesn't rot as fast. And I'm like, do y'all not see this shit? They love to tell you it's going to benefit this. It doesn't benefit. The same thing with chat beats.
Okay, but hold on a second. The Appeal, there's carcinogens in it.
Yes.
And so what this is a additive that's made from mono and diglycerides. And these diglycerides are sprayed onto fruit to preserve it. It's a preservative. And it's meant to extend the shelf life so it doesn't rot as fast. And you can watch these side-by-side time-lapse imagery of one that's been treated with Appeal, and then the one next to it has not been treated with Appeal. And you can see the one that has not been treated with a pill rots faster. You can see this happen
It's
on
supposed
screen.
to.
But
It's
so
supposed.
there's 3 ingredients, 3 chemicals that are in it. The first one is called H318, and that causes eye damage. H412 is harmful to aquatic life. H317 causes allergic skin reactions. I'm talking to everybody, and especially the vegan and vegetarian people out there. No place is safe. There's nowhere to run. Okay? As you can see, they're fucking with the food. This stuff is being sprayed on certified organic food, okay, and conventional. So it's on both organic and conventional food.
Hey, you got to be careful about your organic food because they're importing organic food from China now. Pay attention to this.
So how do you get around this? I'll tell you how. You can buy locally from farmers.
Oh yeah,
in
Farmers
your
market, yep.
area. Farmers market, go talk to the farmers. Look at the produce. Does it have a peel on it? Talk to the farmer and get in the nitty gritty. Ask them what type of soil amendments they're using. How are they preparing the soil? What are you spraying the soil with? What type of irrigation systems do you use?
Hold it. Don't leave out the most obvious thing, my brother. When you buy that stuff, save them seeds and grow your own shit.
Or just order your own and then, set it off that way.
No, I just remember when we were kids and we were done eating fruit, we would try to grow it. We would do weird stuff. That's not weird. You're told now that's strange. That's not strange. Look, all we're trying to tell you is that they always disguise this shit as being, oh, well, you have the fruit on the shelf, have a longer shelf life. It doesn't need a longer shelf life. You need to buy that shit while it's fresh. My brother always talks about seasonal and how important the seasons are because literally your body needs certain things at certain times. That's why this fruit is seasonal. Fruit is in your system, 8 to 12 hours. It's in and out. Vegetables, 2 to 3 days. Meat, like 52 days, some crazy shit. So you see why this is such an important thing. And all we're trying to tell you is don't let the artificial intelligence get in the way of your real intelligence. Don't stop being manipulated. But like I said, this AI is already showing signs, or I don't know the word. It's already showing real life issues of lying. Things that, like I said, when you catch your kid lying, I got in trouble for lying. That's another thing. Kids nowadays don't get in trouble for lying. What do you do with AI when it lies to you? Like, because people trust computers for some reason. You're not seeing how, I don't want to use the word big picture. You're not seeing how fucking fucked up this shit really is. And when you got Elon Musk, which I'm not a fan of him, but he's trying to tell you, like, man, we're heading towards some kind of crazy shit. We need to stop and rethink this. I think that we literally need to pass some laws in certain states. I think certain states will pass laws to make AI like illegal in them states. And I think that's how it's going to be. We're going to go in that direction where you're going to have states that approve the shit and states that don't want the shit. That's what I would think.
So there's a story that ran on March 29th, 2023, and it's about a Malaysian businessman. His name is Low Take Joe, better known as Joe Low. He has been sentenced to 10 years imprisonment in absentia by the Kuwaiti court on money laundering charges. According to a report in the Kuwaiti newspaper Al Kabas, the criminal court has also sentenced a sheikh and 2 others to 10-year jail terms. A lawyer was sentenced to 7 years in jail on money laundering charges in relation to a Malaysian fund. While the newspaper did not name the Malaysian fund, the Sarawak report stated that it was One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB, the insolvent Sovereign Wealth Fund. Al-Kabah said the court ordered those convicted to return $1 billion and that they would be fined a total of 183 million Kuwaiti dinars, 794 million, in Kuwait's public. Wow. Okay, so Kuwait's public prosecution office has reopened the case following a 2-year hiatus due to the lack of information from international parties. Investigations show that $1 billion in U.S. currency entered the account of an influential Kuwaiti person and then it was transferred abroad, the report said.
Hmm.
So the same guy is in the news again on April the 21st. It says Malaysia may be working on a deal with the Chinese government that could see fugitive businessman Lo Take Joe repatriated to Malaysia, and claims a report by former Wall Street Journal reporter Bradley Hope. According to Hope, multiple sources said the arrangement is being hotly debated inside Malaysian government in the wake of Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's trip to China in March. Such a deal would involve recalibrating the Belt and Road Initiative projects in Malaysia to be economically feasible and beneficial to Malaysian infrastructures and needs, and also handing over Joe Lo himself. This would be huge and fascinating and mark the end. It would be huge and fascinating, and it would mark the end of the main storyline of the 1MDB scandal from its founding in 2009 to collapse amid scandal in 2015. Now, it could also mean a big cash recovery for Malaysia too, because Joe, by their estimates and sources who have followed the case closely, still controls a multi-billion-dollar cash hoard. Check this out. This guy gave money to Praz of the Fugees. He then laundered the money and gave it to the Obama campaign. So now Leonardo DiCaprio is going on the stand to testify. Why is he testifying? Because he was implicated in this shit, and he's ratting on people. He's ratting on everybody involved. This guy is doing some straight up Wolf of Wall Street shit. The crazy part about this is that the money that DiCaprio was given to make the Wolf of Wall Street came from this same dude, Joe Lo.
Yeah, but don't leave out the most important part. The reason it's a court case, it is illegal for foreign people to donate to a campaign. That's what this is about. Let's not forget what law was broken. So what Joe Lo is doing, who's from Malaysia, and hey, isn't Barack from Malaysia? That's another conversation.
Listen, hold on. In 2019, DiCaprio gave secret testimony to a Washington, D.C. grand jury involving his alleged role in the scandal. He was considered a witness to an alleged conspiracy that used proceeds from the 1MDB fund to finance his movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, via its ties to Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation. And according to the list of witnesses in the Praz Michel trial, DiCaprio might once again have to answer questions about the alleged connection. Top Trump officials on the potential witness list include former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, former general, and former Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger. Also on the list is former RNC Deputy Finance Chair and lobbyist Elliot Broidy, who pled guilty to acting as an unregistered foreign agent working for Chinese and Malaysian interests in 2020, and was charged in the federal probe surrounding 1MDB. Trump pardoned him in 2001. So there you go. Not only is the money that was laundered given to the Obama campaign from a foreign Chinese, Malaysian, ethnically Chinese guy whose parents are from China. Let's just cut the shit. And then Trump and his boys was getting money from this same dude. Listen to me. Who plays both sides like that?
The quintessence.
The quintessence, exactly. The Communist Party does.
All the time.
Listen, man. So, dude, oh my God. So, this comes from a October 10th, 2022 Rolling Stone article. And the headline is 72 witnesses, including top Trump officials and Leonardo DiCaprio, prep for Praz Michel money laundering trial. The Fugees member who pled not guilty on federal money laundering charges heads to trial November the 4th. Yeah.
So they found the one black guy out of 100 white guys
Yep.
to try to make him the face of
Yes.
this shit.
Yes.
Knowing good and damn well
He's the
all these white
scapegoat.
people.
Now, the Fuji's member, hold on, wait. Fuji's member Praz Michel's trial on federal money laundering charges, it went to court November the 4th. And he wasn't the only star participating in this case. 72 witnesses, including, like I said, DiCaprio, Trump officials. And it said witnesses for government as politicals play, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, damn. So Michelle was among the people that the Justice Department said was tied to Malaysian businessman John Low-Tech. Low-Tech, that's so funny.
Yeah, exactly.
A wealth fund promoted as economic development in Asia. Low is accused of stealing $4.5 billion from a slush fund. And Michelle was allegedly paid at least $8 million and as much as $40 million for his role in assisting Low.
Holy, hey, for the record, I'd have done it for $40 million, my nigga. let's not.
No, I would have
talked.
taught him how to fucking do that shit better. But I mean, you got to know you're dealing with the bad guys.
Well, but okay, hold it. See, let's talk. Let's go back to the color of change. First of all, so if this foreign nigga gave this nigga money for the Obama campaign, that sounds like a good thing. That's how they suck you in. Like, hey man, I'm gonna give you.
That's the thing, though. They present it to you as something organic.
Yeah, that's the hook right there.
But we brought up a peel earlier, and a peel looks like it's something organic,
and it ain't.
It ain't.
but this is what we're trying to get to our listeners to understand. One of the reasons we even got into this show is because the conversation me and you are having, where sometimes a year, 2 years, 6 months ahead of the media, ahead of what was coming out. So we want to hear about this appeal shit because they're creeping it out already. The sticker's already on your fruits and vegetables. Well, doesn't that sound like a good idea that your fruit lasts longer? Yeah, lasts longer. No. No, you need to cook that shit and eat it right away, or don't cook it or make it, whatever you're going to do. But having fruit on the shelf longer only benefits the businessman, does not benefit the consumer. It doesn't, but it sounds like it does. Praz, I'm telling you, once they gave him a shitload of money to donate to Barack, hey, I'm helping the Barack campaign. I'm helping to get a brother in office. Now, again, I keep trying to tell y'all, based on his history, Barack might not be black, not as black as you think anyway.
He is, but let's stop.
No. They're saying somebody different is his dad, but that's another conversation. The bottom line is that as a black person, participating in helping this man get in office is an easy way to win Praz over to do some illegal shit. You know, if you're broke, I don't know how much money he has, but when somebody does that, all of a sudden you feel emboldened, you feel connected to that person now. Like, hey, it's Joe Low-Tech gave me some money. I'll hide it for him, but then I'll give it to Barack. Yeah, I'm doing some good shit. But also, we see the same shit going on with that damn that last cryptocurrency where the white boy, they finally brought the white boy from the Virgin Islands back to America or whatever. You know, he donated a shitload of money to over there that war in Russia. So this is how they get out of trouble. This is just one of these situations where, again, it seems organic. It sounds like you're benefiting. You're doing the right thing. But truth be told, all you're doing is laundering money, and you're being manipulated. And like you said, communism, they play both parties. Same thing with Russia. They play both parties. They don't give a damn.
So
this is craziness.
there's a lot of stuff wrong with this. People see celebrity faces and they relax and they think, oh, I can trust this guy and he's a good person and he's donating.
Well, they already got money. They're rich, so they wouldn't steal from me because they got money already.
But why would you? Why? Okay, here's the deal though. Why, if you're a foreign businessman in a far-flung country like Malaysia, why are you concerned with American politics? Why do you want to put hundreds of millions of dollars into who's going to be president? Why are you concerned about that? Unless you want to manipulate the American government.
Or you want favors when it comes to the American government.
Yeah, that's manipulation. And they're using this money to manipulate it. So it's like, oh, okay, we want to get this guy in there because he's going to pass these laws that's going to make it good for the Southeast Asian area to do any type of exports and this, that, and the third. But then the crazy part is, okay, not only so this guy isn't partisan at all, because he's giving money to a Democrat and he's giving money to a Republican president and a polarizing Republican president on top of that.
Don't forget about there's NAFTA, but we all know NAFTA was under Bill Clinton, but under Barack was that Pacific. Oh God, what was it? The OPEC, the Pacific. There was a Pacific.
It was an updated version, basically. Yeah. Of NAFTA.
But it had to do with the Pacific area, so this worked. He got what he wanted. He got business to come to his area. He probably won some contracts, made a shitload of money. Nobody spends that kind of money without expecting a return on their investment. You dig? If you spend $100 million,
this is the thing, though. This is the crazy part. If everybody is so worried about the environment, and climate change, and global warming, and whatever the fuck you want to call it, they're worried about all that. And the World Economic Forum is concerned about all this. They should stop those diesel-powered freighters that generate clouds and exhaust that is larger than football fields. Okay? They should stop all trade traffic from Asia to America because that stuff comes in on cargo ships. And there's no way in hell those cargo ships are going to convert to electric. It's just not going to happen, dude.
But hold it. Electric is just as dirty. You already know that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest secret right now.
Yeah, but I'm not even getting at that right now. I'm just saying that
no. I know.
If you're worried about emissions and carbon emissions and the carbon footprint, okay, don't ship anything from China anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, just ship it to go instead of go the other way. Right? So just ship it to, from China to Asia, to the Middle East, to Europe, and then over to America. But you still got to put it on big ass ships and cross the oceans. So you really don't give a shit about the climate. It's all about compliance and governance and using ESG as a way to police people.
You saying some deep shit right there. See, they don't want to hold these countries accountable. They don't want to hold these corporations accountable, but they want the individual to feel guilty for driving a nice car. And so then they tell you, okay, you need an electric car. Well, the nickel and the cobalt is damn near slavery and over in Africa, and the nickel, it ain't enough nickel for us to have all this shit anyway. This goes back to a conversation me and you had months ago, where if we go electric, you won't be mobile. They don't have enough material to make batteries for everybody in the world. So, and that strip mining they're doing for the nickel is worse than the oil mining that they're doing in the Pacific and every place else. Second, for the record, diesel is not supposed to have petroleum in it anyway. When the French guy invented the shit, he invented it for farmers in the fields to use that kind of oil. You don't even need petroleum for diesel, but that's another conversation. Look, we're telling you, like, look, this color of change, where they make it seem like this shit is for the better, that the future is now, and we're the old guard don't want to change over. I don't think the technology is where it needs to be, and I think we're too busy listening to fucking artificial imagination. Then we're actually looking at our real situation and advancing properly. That's all. People are full of shit.
Yeah, 100%. But the problem with all this, though, is that everybody's being sold a bill of goods, and they want you to think that, all these laws are being put into place and these policies are being created to help you. No, go back to what Rosa Corey was talking about Agenda 2030 and how it's related to Agenda 21, and how Agenda 2030 is just a furthering of Agenda 21. It just happens on a local level. Agenda 21 is international, and Agenda 2030 is local. And that's how you get these district attorneys and these governors and mayors to create lawless situations in these cities, so then they can come about with this solution. So it's this whole Hegelian dialect thing where it's problem solution, right? It's like we create the problem and we give you the solution. We just don't tell you that we were the ones creating the problem because we have our shell corporations creating the problems, and then we come in with the official badge looking like the good guy when it was all good cop, bad cop the entire fucking time.
Hey, old boy was. There's another court case going on with his scientist is talking about the COVID-19 and all the bullshit that went with it. He said, well, if COVID-19 wasn't made in a lab, where's the bat DNA? He said if it came. He said it doesn't matter if that virus originated where you said it did with a civet or with a bat, there would still be remnants of that DNA somewhere in the chain. He said when you look at COVID under the microscope, all you see is human DNA. That means it was made in the lab. And this motherfucker was I mean, this dude had mad credentials. He looked like he had like a beard, kind of white beard, gray hair. This dude, I'm like, he was like, so he said he just made it quite simple. If we can backtrack this, where is the bat DNA? Because if it came from a bat, there would be remnants of that bat DNA somewhere in the molecular code, somewhere in this virus. And he was letting them have it. I'm like, oh, damn. I don't know how Fauci is avoiding prosecution, other than the fact that it's what Bill Gates wanted and these billionaires wanted.
Pretty much, but people think, oh well, it's Bill Gates or it's the World Economic Forum.
Or he's harmless. This is harmless. Yes.
No, not even that, because you have to look at the people that are associated with him, the people that do business with him. You have to look at these umbrella corporations that they create to continue their agenda. And it's not even a conspiracy anymore. These are laws now. Like, these are laws, dude. Like, fuck a conspiracy. Like, this shit is wrong and it's in your face every day. And it's like, fuck, what do you do? How do you fight this shit? Well, you have to attack it on the surface and underneath, because you have to figure out, well, okay, appeal is horrible, but who's the company behind that? Who's the research organization behind that? Who's funding their research?
What tool are they going to use to get it into your house? And like I said, that's what goes back to what we've been talking about for months, where Bill Gates was buying up all this farmland. I'm like, there's got to be another play. He's going to force this shit down your throat, literally, and you're not going to realize that it's too late. So at some point in time, we need to pass laws where, okay, billionaires can't own farmland, or we need to pass laws that actually benefit us. But we're too busy thinking that we can't participate. This goes back to one of our earlier podcasts, the death of the civics class. People don't know how to govern. They don't know how to be part of government. They think that you have to go to Yale. They think that you have to be Ivy League just to pass a law or to be a politician. No. And that's what we learned when we were kids, when we had social studies, when we had a civics class. When you had that stuff, you learned how to, okay, you know what? If this politician ain't doing right, I'm going to campaign against them, or I'm going to support the other person to get my interests out there.
Okay, check this out. Let me just throw you into a radical situation. So another pandemic comes along, and they're telling you it is coming. It's just a matter of time. So another one comes along, and then right, but because they're running tests for it now. You know what I mean? They're running these Event 201 tests like they did in New York in 2019. But so we're in a situation again where everything collapses, and the society that you live in is pretty small now, and so everybody's carrying weapons because they have to protect their family. So then, do you still have laws? Do you still have jails? How do you deal with rape? How do you deal with theft? How do you deal with murder? What do you do in a situation like that when you're in a situation and you got to protect your family, and then there's criminals around you? So do we go back to an old west type of situation where it's like an eye for an eye, where it's like, all right, cool, you guys want to do that shit, that's cool, you come mess with my family, I'm gonna put a bullet in your head, or if I'm out of bullets, I'll decapitate you with my katana. But what do you do in a situation like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, if there is a situation where there is a collapse, what are you willing to do? Because the CIA, through all of its manipulation programs, and there's documentation to show that, there was MH Chaos, where they created these student groups, and like the Weather Underground was probably created by the CIA or some intelligence organization, and they created these revolutionary groups and these counter-revolutionary groups to appear as something that's organic, but it's being done on purpose because it creates a bad guy. The same way that Jack the Ripper was the creation of Masons in London to create a greater need for policing, to create this boogeyman or this fear. And so all these serial killers, what happened to serial killers? So mass shooters replace serial killers? Is that it? Because we don't hear shit about serial killers no more. Like, is it just not in fashion anymore? Like,
they just ain't eating the same people anymore.
Like, are serial killers now like the Air Force Ones of of criminals? Like, ain't nobody wearing Air Force Ones no more. But hey,
they're out of style. There ain't no hookers around for them to kill. Ain't no rest areas and shit. Not like it used to be. Look, hey, so let me talk about something.
Hold on a second. You know what got rid of serial killers? The coronavirus. Ain't that some shit?
No. The vaccine did. It made them not want to kill anymore. They didn't have no free time on their hands. But
shit, free time. Everybody's Netflixing and chilling. The problem is you can't get into anybody's house.
Yeah, they're too busy beating their wife. But no, that's a real thing. Security had pinned that shit up, and people after Corona, one thing that did change, just like when 9/11 happened, security changed. Like, remember when you were a kid, you go to the airport and watch planes come in. You can't go to the airport and watch shit no more after 9/11. Well, it's the same thing with the coronavirus. People were kind of concerned about security, and they pay more attention now. Damn near everybody has a camera on their house or a Ring doorbell or that kind of bullshit. So I think that did quite a bit of that right there. You're right about that, Roscoe. But what I was going to say, on the local level, Omaha just passed one of those concealed carry laws where you don't have to have a permit no more. Everybody can carry. And
when was that?
Last week. And so this is for my black people. Please listen to this.
Well, hold on. You still have to have a license to have that firearm.
No. Whoa. That's it. Okay. You know where I'm going. People, just because they passed that law where you can carry, but they didn't get rid of all the other laws. You still got to buy a purchase permit. You still got to do a background check. People don't know when it's legal for them to shoot. Do you understand? You being mad is not a reason to shoot. When you come in contact with a police officer, me and your brother one time came in contact with a police officer. First thing I told him, I said, "Hey, are you talking to me about police business?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I got to let you know I have a concealed carry weapon on me." That's the law in Nebraska. If you are talking to a police officer, if a cop says hi to you, that don't mean shit. But if a cop is saying, like, "Hey, I'm stopping you because of your speeding or whatever," if you're having an official police conversation, you must let that cop know that you're carrying a concealed weapon. And I guarantee you, a lot of these folks are they're not going to know what the laws are. That's what that class is for. The class would tell you what the laws were. If you witness a kidnapping, you can shoot. If you have somebody who's in your care, like say your grandmother, you're taking care of her, and somebody breaks in the house, you can shoot. You can protect your grandmother. Just because they passed the law where you don't need a license to carry anymore, everybody is constitutional carry. That's great, but those other laws were not erased, and that's what's going to happen. A lot of folks are going to go off half cocked and start doing things, not realizing that, hey, yeah, this is legal, but the rest of the shit you did ain't legal. And I just really want my people who are listening, I want y'all to know that, especially if you're in Nebraska. That's a thing. It's a real thing. Those other laws were not erased just because they changed that one law.
That's the problem, is that everybody hears that and they completely forget about all the underlying laws. Like, dude, that
You
don't
got to
mean
register fire.
you
Yep,
can
yep.
go get you can just get a dirty gun and walk around with the motherfucker and it's gonna be cool when you get pulled over. I'm like, no, 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 no. See, that's the problem though. People, they get so excited. Like, no, settle
Look,
down.
but that's the problem when you get your education about guns from TV and movies.
Because
Look,
listen, when a person hears that, they equate that to the old west and like, oh, I can
exactly.
walk around with a fucking gun on my hip now.
That's the whole problem. People only hear the part they like and they stop listening. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like literally.
selective listening.
I love y'all. Stay out of trouble. Don't get hemmed up.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying though, man. It's like, okay, you if you're not listening attentively, your ass can get into trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Preach.
I mean,
Preach.
that's some serious shit because I mean, I don't know, have you had this conversation with people there
Uh,
since then?
well, I didn't. The day it passed, one of my homeboys had put something on Facebook, and I spoke on it, and then I put something on myself, like explaining, like, look, don't think that the other laws were erased. You still, if you're in Omaha, you got to register your handgun. If you're in Nebraska, you still supposed to, report to a
What's
police
the
officer.
law for shooting and killing an intruder?
We have castle doctrine, but
What is castle
that's
doctrine?
how do I explain? Basically, at your house,
Where does
you're
the
the
person have
cop.
to die?
Yeah, I think it has to be in the house. It
So
can't just
shoot
be on your
somebody in the
property.
backyard and drag them inside.
Yeah, my dad used to say that shit. Drag his ass. If I shoot you, I'm dragging you back inside the house. Castle doctrine is down south. They got the other shit. You ain't got to run. Blah blah blah. But castle doctrine means you're the cop until the cops get there. And if somebody does something to you in the house, you can shoot them. But if they outside, you're not supposed to shoot them. It
Because
sounds
they
corny.
still have the opportunity to flee.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so it's one of
Hence
those
the
weird deals.
castle.
Hence,
You
yes, castle doctrine.
they have to basically breach the castle walls.
hmm And so that's also, if they got a weapon, here's something else that people don't ever want to talk about: women and men. A woman can shoot a dude, because the disparage in strength. But a man, you ain't supposed. A man can't just shoot a woman unless she has a weapon. That sounds so corny.
Hold
But
on a
that's
second.
the,
Hold on a second. So a female criminal breaks into the house. I got my gun. I kill her. What then?
if she ain't got no weapon on her, you might catch charges, man.
Yeah, fuck all that. That is an intruder.
And I get that. I understand how you feel, but it ain't about your feelings.
So
It's,
you're
it's,
saying
it's
because I can overpower her, I'm not
yes,
supposed to use a weapon.
yes,
That's cool. But you said the operative word, shoot. You didn't say kill.
yeah.
So
Uh,
no. I got swords. So she can catch the blade.
I'm just telling you, like the the laws are so weird, and you got to read them. You need to read them, and people don't read them. They just see, like I said, they see the part that they want. They're basically skim reading. I look for the part that relates to what I want, and I stick out. I can carry it, great, but you can't carry it at airport. Um, you can't carry at an elementary school, but you can carry at a sporting event at a high school. Crazy. Like you can't carry, but your weapon could be. But I can have my weapon in the car if I'm at a high school football game. That's the actual law. You can't carry at the airport. You can carry at a church.
What about school teachers in Omaha? Are they carrying now?
No, not that I know of.
Why?
Not allowed to. That has not. Like I said, if they, I know this. If you're at an elementary school, you ain't supposed to have a weapon. I think a cop can have a weapon, but that's about it. Like I
Have
told you,
you
high
followed
school.
up? Have you followed up on cops protecting schools there?
No. Well, okay. We already have cops at the schools here. They already have service officers here.
Does
They've
Farnell
been
have
having here
one?
for. I'm sure they do. Yeah. Like, I'm sure they
Because
got to.
growing up, we didn't have one.
Oh no. Not in our day. Nah. But now, damn near every school has a resource officer,
and he or she's almost always, look, I told you, I got a call from the resource officer at South High School one time because my kid was doing some dumb shit. Trust me, they got cops on duty. Yeah.
Color of change, the color of monetarily change, and the color of paradigm change. It appears that there are people, saboteurs, wealthy saboteurs, that have hired their agents of destruction to infiltrate the government, local and federal, to destroy the country from within. It is upon you to sniff them out, to sniff out any other fuckery that appears to be harmful in nature, and deal with it.
Look, what you got to do is don't look for change. You should be always looking for improvement. I've dealt with this like in my professional life at work. We're changing this. No, you should be improving it. If you're changing it for the sake of change, that's not good enough. You should always be looking to improve. This should be more efficient. This should cost less money. This should create more jobs for people. It should be doing something to benefit you. Don't change for the sake of change. And that's the whole issue with this artificial intelligence. It's just change for the sake of change. It's not improvement. And you need to watch that shit.
That's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.